this wasn't what we expected before the season started. 19 games left, and I still can't figure out the Lakers.
Well, maybe our expectations were too high. Like, if you go look at Vegas and the odds, and I don't know if you remember this, they had this were tied, I think, with Boston for the second best odds to win the title. Not just go to the championship. I mean, make the playoffs,
right.
win the title behind the Warriors. So perhaps Vegas was fooling everybody a little bit to get some bets in. But you know, this team has one all-star, one superstar, and had a lot of young guys that had a lot of growing up to do. So, you know, I always kind of felt like it was a challenge to make it to the playoffs. But when you add LeBron James in the roster, I think everybody just assumed that anything was possible.
But when you look at the Western Conference and LeBron coming over to the Western Conference, look, you understand that there's going to be some tough games with the OKC, the Warriors, Denver Nuggets, Portland. But when you lose to the Phoenix Suns, the worst team in the NBA, Mark, that's inexcusable. To me, that tells me there's something going on inside of that locker room, whether it's the coaching staff to the players, guys not believing, and you read those comments after, the players don't know how to figure it out. So what's there next to do?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just the Suns. They've lost to a lot of bad teams.
Right.
And if they just win those games against the bad teams, they're in playoff position. I mean, we could blame youth. Maybe Lonzo is more important than we thought. The New Orleans hangover. You know, there's a lot of things, but ultimately there's also a chemistry deal there as well. I remember when I covered the Celtics in 2007-8, the year they won the title, there was a lot of new people involved. Kevin Garnett arrived. Ray Allen arrived. And if you talk to Ray and Paul and KG, what really helped them was going to London, going to Italy, and getting camaraderie and building a teamwork and learning about unselfishness, you know, away from America, like being forced to be together. And I thought that, you know, I talked to Rondo about that early in the season. He said he wished that this team had that kind of opportunity to grow together and get to know each other better, because obviously the chemistry is horrible. There's a lot of fingers to be pointed, which I think that's where a lot of the frustration is, like, what is the real reason? But, you know, ultimately when you have a LeBron James on your team, you know, the finger probably is going to have to be pointed at him, because some people, you know, view him as the best player to ever play in the world, ever. He's been to 8 straight finals, and I think he hasn't missed the playoffs since 2004. So just with him alone, the expectation is that the rest of the guys would pick up their game and grow with him being there, but such hasn't been the case.
Senior NBA writer for The Undefeated, Marc Spears, joining the Rich Eisen show. Kirk Morrison filling in for Rich. But I think, Mark, what happens is so many things that LeBron James is involved in before he got to Los Angeles. And now, since he's been in Los Angeles, all these new opportunities keep popping up, and his hands seem to be in everything. And in reading your piece from the other day on The Undefeated about Kobe Bryant, Kobe was all in on basketball, and he waited till he retired to get into movies and film and all the different endeavors now that he's a part of. When you look at LeBron James and what he's doing, and now you see that his basketball team seems to be suffering, does that also factor into what a lot of people are kind of maybe upset about or will use as a blame to put on LeBron?
I mean, but Curry, he averaging 27, 9, and 8.
But they're not in the playoffs, Mark.
I mean, he could do that. I mean, he could go act it and give you that. I mean, his play has still been great, right? So I think that might be just an excuse that people are using. But he's still balling. I could see if he was averaging 19 and 4 and 4 or something like that.
Right.
But if there is somebody that could, like, put all this stuff on his plate and still perform, it's him. Regardless to whether he's filming Space Jam or this, that, and the third. I don't know that really matters. I think and hey, man, you know L.A., and you know how big the press conference is in L.A. Jim Hill asking the first question in L.A.
Right.
Like, I think that in hindsight, LeBron probably should have, done the L.A. tradition, do the press conference, get the city to get to know him more instead of not doing anything until training camp. And I also think it would be good for him to go to South Central, go to East L.A., maybe do a lot of the great things that he does, perhaps do that more in the L.A. community so they could get to know him a little better. Because I don't, like he's said to some of the reporters there, well, you guys don't really know me. I think it would be good for them to get to know him more, but he's become such a big star. Perhaps that's kind of gone by the wayside. But I won't use his moonlighting as an excuse because his numbers are still really great.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.